In today's update, I'll be talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and overall wrap up of the crypto market, and at the same time, what's driving the prices up. I'll be talking about the emerging market factor as well, what's happening with DXY, what did we see from an economic perspective, and things moving up. So let's start by looking at the crypto heat map. You guys can clearly see Bitcoin is up somewhere around 2%, Ethereum is up 3%, and rest of the altcoins, some are up, some are more up. I mean, instead of bleeding, they are pumping. But you guys need to keep in mind, if we look at the pump or the current pump, the dump was more massive than the pump, like I always say. Okay. So these pumps are not going to help much. I'm not talking about Ethereum or Bitcoin or Solana. These three cryptos are currently outperforming the market. However, there are some other altcoins too that's currently outperforming the market and not taking as bigger hits like the way other altcoins did. Their recovery was a little fast. Now, if I take you guys to, coin market cap, then you guys will be able to understand another thing. If I talk about the capital infusion, the last time when I was shooting a video, the capital infusion was somewhere around 2.09 trillion or 2.09 trillion. Currently, it is trading at 2.17 trillion. So we have seen an infusion of $80 billion in the global crypto market cap. Now, what does this signify? This signifies that yes, people have started accumulating and buying as well. This does not mean that the bottom is in, because nobody can actually time the market and you need to understand this practically. But the drop that we've seen recently, the recent drop has been bought back, and whoever was selling, let's take an example. There are 10 retailers, maybe they were selling Solana. They were selling Solana when it was dropping a lot in the recent crash. They sold it at $120, maybe at a loss or at a profit, and they sold, let's say 10 retailers sold 1000 quantity of Solana or 1k quantity of Solana. What did the whales or the sharks or the smart money were up to? They did nothing, rather they accumulated all of the Solana that was being sold. So the absorption has been done to whatever sell-off that was happening. That is first. If I look at things from a 7-day perspective, then you guys can, let me just change the theme first. Yes, if you look at things from a 7-day perspective, Bitcoin is up 3%. Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. Keep that in mind. It is up 5%. BNB is up 5% as well. Solana, more or less, it's not even up. I won't even consider. XRP is outperforming. So yeah, do watch out. I'll be, covering XRP's price action as well. Cardano again 17%. Rest of the altcoins 4, 5, 10, 20. It goes like that. So yeah, that's about it. But now the main part over here is the fear and greed index, another thing. So if you look at the fear and greed index of crypto, currently it is updated. It was rather updated today only. Okay. So if you look at the fear and greed index, it is currently trading at, or the score is currently at extreme fear. Now, what does this signify? So when I talk about extreme fear from a retail perspective, everybody is fearful that the market is going to drop more. So let's say if it's trading at $58,000, I'm talking about Bitcoin. So a lot of people are placing their bids, their limit orders at 40 to 45,000, because this is how retailers act. When the market moves up, they think, okay, Bitcoin to the moon, Bitcoin to the moon, 100k, 80k. When it is moving up, they do not think about retracements at all, because 80 to 85% of retailers' perspective and psychology goes like this: let the market go up. It's going up, keep buying, let it go up. The moment it starts to fall, the opposite happens, and this is how they work out, and this is why they lose up a lot of money as well. Because the normal psychology, let's just leave technicals aside, even if you work on your psychology and your mindset, I think a lot of people will be ahead of what exactly happens, and they'll be able to understand how the market works in a cycle perspective or a wave perspective. This is what happens when the market is trading at extreme fear. When the market drops, then they start to think, no, no, let's not buy this. The market is going to fall more, and that is where, or that is the biggest area where they make the biggest mistakes as well. Let's not talk about that. From an extreme fear perspective, the only thing that I would like to highlight is, let's say if you have some cash, let's say you have a portfolio of 100k, or I would say from an Indian perspective, let's say you have a portfolio of 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs. If you are sitting 1 lakh cash or 2 lakhs in cash, try to accumulate cryptos, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Okay, I'll be talking about some other altcoins too, but I'm still not suggesting altcoins. Why? Because From an altcoin perspective, I'll be talking about when can we anticipate an altcoin bull run. I am not going to be timing the market, but when can we anticipate a crypto bull run or basically an altcoins bull run. So that's about it. Extreme fear, whenever you see this and when at the moment we start to go sideways, I think if you are sitting 20% cash, try to accumulate strong cryptos worth, I mean, from an allocation perspective, worth 10% and still sit 10% in fiat. Okay, now all this is from a scenario that you stay prepared for everything. Now I'll be talking about what the Fed has, commented and what can we expect and what are some scenarios that is turning up. So the recent, the CPI came way below the estimates. I would just say 0.1% below the estimates. That was considered good from the market perspective and everything moved up as well. US indices are trading at an all-time high. Watch out that. Second thing, now let's talk about rate cuts. So you see, the July target rate was that the Fed is simply going to keep the rates just like the way it is. No hike, no dump or no rate cut. But the catch is in the month of September. And if you look at the month of September, the probability has been increased to 90% that a 25 BPS rate cut is coming. Okay. ECB has started cutting rates. India has clearly said that they won't start cutting rates until and unless the CPI comes under 4%. That's all about India. Let's say if you're trading Indian markets, then this is for your awareness. But from a US perspective and from a global perspective, because US drives global markets prices a lot, whatever the Fed does, it impacts other markets too. Let's say if we see a rate cut in September, the moment you see a rate cut, prices are now going to jump because right after the month of September, the first rate cut, you'll see US elections coming up too. Okay. Sorry for that. So, when I talk about rate cuts, the moment you see rate cuts happening, prices are either going to get distributed or prices are going to get manipulated. But the moment this news has been factored in, the market is going to react before the event happens. Because the moment you see the event happening, the market is not going to react positive. So make sure that you have this in mind. Okay. Now, I'll be talking about things that you guys need to understand. So here comes the technical perspective of everything. So yeah, let's start with Bitcoin first and what can we expect out of Bitcoin. So if you guys look at Bitcoin's chart currently, the only thing that you guys need to understand is, let me go to the weekly. See, the whole imbalance has been completely absorbed. This weekly candle, after four consecutive I would say red candles or bearish candles, this is going to be the first green candle or the purple candle because my green candles are converted into purple. This is going to be the first purple or a green candle for this week after 4 weeks of falling. What can you expect out of price? I am still watching out this zone which ranges from 59,000 to $61,000. I want this zone to be flipped or a weekly, not a daily, but a weekly candle close above this. So what I'm trying to say is, if I go on to the daily chart and what I am currently expecting is, this whole imbalance needs to be chased. So let's say if we are chasing this whole imbalance, let's say the move is not directly like this, rather we go up, we take a hit, and this retracement should shoot prices more up if there are, let's say, more limit orders coming here. Prices shooting up and then coming back either to this zone to catch up more liquidity or maybe back to this zone and then moving up a lot. This is what I want to see from a bullish perspective. Let's say if we do not play out this bullish perspective, then what can we expect? Because you need to stay prepared from both of the sides. My personal bias is bullish, okay? I am just expecting one fast liquidity grab, maybe to the zone of 53,000 to 54,000. I still expect that. I am still sitting 20% cash for that. If I don't get that, that's fine. I'll just size up on my positions or on my winners. But when I talk about the other scenario playing out, then I would like to draw up the other path. Let's say we go up here and we start to fall and probably take a liquidity grab from this zone, the wick that Bitcoin made, and then we start moving up again. This is the first scenario. Now, let's say that we do not go up to 60 or 61,000 only. Then what do? We might probably see a candle till here, taking up this high, taking up more orders from here, and then coming down directly, and then the last leg or the final leg of the expansion. There are two scenarios. Just keep this in mind and prepare yourselves accordingly. I do need a sweep above this, a retracement, and then only I'll look for longs or probably a spot accumulation. As of now, I'll only be accumulating 10 to 20%, and I'll be sitting 20%. I like I said, I'm sitting 20% cash. So let's say I'll just be sitting 10% cash. If I see a dip, current prices, I've accumulated more or less a lot of things, so I wouldn't like to accumulate anything as of now. Now let's talk about Ethereum. So if you look at Ethereum, then the only thing that you guys need to understand is, see, this was the long that I created probably in the month of May 2024. I would just try to win this. Yeah, 2024, 14th May. And that's where we saw this huge expansion with no coverage at all. So price was not moving in a wave, but this was an impulsive move. That's what I call it. Yes. What about the current price? See, the current price, if you look at the drop, see, three candles, three daily candles to drop from 3,500 to $2,800. That was a wick, however, that got consumed, but still a $700 drop in three candles. What do you see over here? We are moving up slowly, but the strength of the bulls are not that strong, and that's what is getting depicted on the candles too. Now, if you want to understand, if you do not understand price action, by looking at the candles only, you can judge whether the price is going to move up or we can see another retracement coming soon. In my perspective, I still do see two scenarios. Let's say we go up and we come down, and that's going to be the last move towards the upside. Okay, so this move is still pending because we do need some base setting. So if there is no matured base, or from a base perspective, what I basically mean is, you saw this price action light like this, and if we do not start consolidating over here, then we will not see an expansionary move, because without consolidation, these bases are very weak, and you can any day or any time see a distribution move towards this, probably taking out the wicks, and then the last expansionary move, or maybe a move towards the downside as well. It's not necessary that once this is taking out, it's going to go up and up only. So yes, do keep this in mind as well before accumulating Ethereum. From an accumulation perspective, I would still want to be a little conservative because I've already accumulated a lot of Ethereum. And let's say if I want to place bids, I'll be placing it under $3,000. If you are interested in accumulating Ethereum, or if you are interested in accumulating anything, consult your financial advisor. Like I always say, all of my trades are from my own perspective, and I am just giving you these points to look at and probably to take a reference from. So yes, this is all about Ethereum. From a bearish perspective, I don't think that's going to play out what I was expecting, but yes, this still says a scenario of $2,000 to $2,300. But if I look at the current scenario where we have an ETF S1 approval coming up probably by 18th of July, this is what was exactly said by the Bloomberg's analyst. And I think, see, Bloomberg's analyst, whenever they quote a date or let's say a rough estimate, it stays or lays somewhere around that area, or that duration only. So you can expect that same week or that same span to bring up the news of Ethereum's S1 getting approved, and then we see an infusion of $10-20 billion from all of these big asset managers. This is all about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, some altcoins that are setting up nice, but at the same time stay cautious too, because altcoins do have a very big Sharpe ratio. When you are risking 30-40% on a single concentrated position, people only look at what can I make out of altcoins. The only thing and the only language that they understand when I talk about, or when anybody talks about altcoins, are, man, if I accumulate, let's say Aptos, this is going to be my first pick. Okay, if I accumulate Aptos, do you see how big the upside is going to be? So probably I'll invest let's say if I invest $600, and if Aptos goes back to $19, I'll just simply be making $1,900 out of $600. I'll probably be making 300%. That's exactly not how the mindset should work. But instead of looking at the upside, first look, let's say if Aptos falls from $6 to $4, what are you going to do then? if it's falling from $6 to $4, you are losing up 35%. So your aim was to make 300%. Now you've lost 35%. That was a single concentrated position. That's where your capital starts to leak. Capital leakage with the wrong perspective is going to hit you hard, because if you have the same kind of trades or the same kind of psychology before taking trades, 3 trades and your capital is completely blown up. So make sure that if you are accumulating things, you are prepared for the worst first, and then you are praying for the best after that. So yes, now when I talk about Aptos, yes, I want Aptos to show me some accumulation instead of a weak base moving up to this zone of probably like $7.2 and then coming back again. Because if you want a confirmation, and if you are looking for a confirmation that post this confirmation only I'll be taking longs, then you better wait for this zone to be flipped. And by flipping, what I basically mean is, let me just remove the drawings so that you guys get a fresh idea of what I am trying to basically say. So let's say once you see this zone getting flipped, and post this flip you see a retracement, and that's where you can think about taking entries. Because if this retracement, retracement takes place, and then if you see an expansionary move towards, let's say, $10, you are anyways making 30 to 40% with a very small risk of, let's say, 10% or 15%. And this shouldn't be your single allocated crypto. So the allocation should be, let's say, in 4 or 5 altcoins and not a single concentrated position. Still consult your financial advisor for your allocation. From an accumulation perspective, $4.6 or let's say $4 to $6 is a very good range. This is what I would like to vouch upon for Aptos. This range is good. You guys can probably watch out this range and then take your decision after researching about what Aptos does, what Aptos is famous for. So this was the first crypto. Now the second crypto that I'll be going to talk about is going to be Atom. Now Atom 2, I have been very bullish on this project and I still am. Let me just remove this brush and show you guys clearly what I expect out of Atom. So when you look at Atom, another weak base took out this wick. Let's say if we are going back again to this zone and start that accumulation, like I've already shown you in a lot of other cryptos too. Let's say we start accumulation in this zone. You guys can probably think about accumulating or bidding for Atom from the range of $4 to, let's say, 5.5 or $6. The current area where Atom is trading is good. Okay, so this is from an accumulation perspective. But let's say if you want a confirmation, and let's say if this only moves up, if it only moves up, in my opinion, I think I would like to probably wait for this zone to be flipped. The moment you see $7.2 getting flipped, this is a basic zone. See, this is the first basic zone. From a logical perspective, even $9 can be a confirmation or a better zone where you can start adding longs. But yes, from this current perspective, I'm just expecting $7.1 to be flipped, a retracement, and that's where you guys can probably plan out entries. A very simple way. I'm not talking about fair value gaps, order blocks. You have such a big fair value gap here. You have a fair value gap here. You have fair value gaps everywhere in the chart, but the origination of where the price is going to expand and the price delivery is something that you guys need to understand. When you look at the higher time frame narrative, you guys should be able to point out whether the expansion is going to be towards the upside or towards the downside. As simple as that. You guys do not have to complicate or use buzzwords in order to make your charts more complicated, but you're just using buzzwords and drawing more things or putting more lipsticks on your chart to complicate things more. I think that's not a feasible thing to do. Dot, I would say, yeah, it's ranging in my accumulation zone, and probably you can think about accumulating dot from this zone of $5.6 to $6. And this accumulation is something that, again, I would like to vouch upon. So, dot, in my opinion, looks good to me. I am not going to be talking about FET as of now, though I've drawn a zone, but I think if FET comes back to 70 cents to 80 cents, or maybe let's say 80 cents, I might think about accumulating FET only then. Near is going to be something that I'll be again talking about. Injective I've already shared in my previous video. You guys can probably refer to my previous video. This is going to be the big range, and the last range is going to be this, where you guys can think about accumulating Injective, and it ranges from, let's say, $16 to probably around $20. And the last one is going to be the second last. I have Solana on my list as well. The last one is going to be Near. So Near, even from a retracement or let's say a flash crash perspective, you guys can clearly see it did not drop like the way other cryptos did. So it only fell 50%, where a lot of other cryptos, let's say if I take OP for an example, OP dropped like anything. So you see, OP made a high of $3.4 and then it dropped probably around 60-70%. So Near still, took a good recovery as well. And I am still waiting for this zone to be flipped. Let's say if I want to build entries, I was looking for this zone, but I did not take an entry because I knew that let's say if I'm taking an entry over here, it's only going to be a scalp entry and not a long time entry that I can take and hold. So I'm just waiting for Near to maybe flip this zone or get rejected and start building a base. The last one is Solana. I do have a decent size of Solana in my bag currently, and I am, still bullish on Solana because Solana ETF Buzz is also there inside the market. From an investor perspective, just look out for this zone if you want to accumulate. And if you want a confirmation post the accumulation, just wait for 154 or $156 to be flipped, a retracement towards the same zone, or let's say $5 or $6 above, or let's say beneath, and that's where you can start bidding more for Solana. Now, when can we expect an altcoin run? Now, this is a question which a lot of people are interested in knowing about. Let's look at things from a very large time frame perspective. Okay, so I mark this. Altcoins will start pumping from here if BTC dominance gets rejected from here. So watch out closely and do not sell your altcoins after seeing them jump 20 to 40%. See, this was the same zone where I pointed out, but we took a grab and we started ranging. Okay, what we exactly need is an impulsive move either towards the downside or towards the upside. Towards the upside, altcoins are going to bleed more, and towards the downside, you'll see altcoins basically ranging more and starting to move up. Altcoins won't fall. Let me flip the chart and show you guys something else. What do you guys see? So this is another analysis that you guys need to see. Let me just show you what happened in the past. We've only made higher highs, okay, over here. So we made a higher high. It was an equal high here. So high, we dropped, altcoin run. Another higher high, okay, dropped, made equal highs, dropped, an altcoin run. But if you look at things from a larger time frame perspective, Bitcoin dominance has only made, see, this high was, more larger than the previous high. So a higher low, higher low, higher low, and that is what you keep seeing every time in Bitcoin's dominance. Okay. But when you look at the chart of Bitcoin dominance currently, all you guys need to see is when can we expect an impulsive move? Let's say if this has already topped out, we made a higher high, a higher high, a higher high, and a higher high. Now, this higher high zone can only be flipped and broken once we, go beyond 52 to 53%. And it's not going to be something that is going to happen overnight in a week or in a month. We might take some time, and this might happen maybe in the last quarter as well. So I think altcoins accumulation at this zone, even if your portfolio is down and if you don't have any cash to accumulate, it's completely fine. Hold your altcoins. Why? Because the moment you see Bitcoin dominance flipping this last zone of 50%, and once it starts to drop just like the way it did over here, you'll see a massive altcoin run. I don't think we are going to flip this zone of 56% or 58%. We might probably take a grab, but we might not go above, or let's say to 64%. 64%. Why? Because from a trend perspective, and if you look at Bitcoin dominance, then Bitcoin is, we might see a scenario where Bitcoin can get stable and Ethereum moving up, and at the same time, the whole Ethereum ecosystem moving up as well. But a lot of people are not considering this fact. Why? Because from an uptrend perspective, you've always seen higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. But what you guys see over here is whenever we moved up, whenever you've always seen lower high, another lower high, this was an equal high, and another lower high over here. If it tops out here, lower high, lower high, lower high, and this is going to be equal lows. So I am still bullish on altcoins only from this perspective that I'm not going to be timing the market. Okay, I don't think there's an point in timing the market. So yes, stay prepared for this. Wait for the whole structure to get shifted. Once you see that break of structure, and once you see the market shifting its structure, that's I think where you'll see altcoins moving up like anything. So yes, if it's consolidating at this zone, you can probably see, or you can probably see an altcoin rally very soon, because we need a base here to mitigate these lows again. And if we go back to 30% or 40%, yes, that's where you guys will be seeing your altcoins debt portfolio jumping up again. Any altcoin, any random altcoin is going to go over 50 to 100%. That's going to be my bet, and I can say it openly once you see that altcoin run coming in. We've not seen an altcoin run till date. After the last bull run that we've only seen an altcoin recovery, but not an altcoin run. An altcoin run is only called an altcoins bull run when you see, let's say, Near was trading at $10, and that was the recent high or the all-time high that it made. If it's trading at $20, then that's what you call, or that's what you call an altcoin run. So yes, this is it about today's video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Do let me know if you guys want me to analyze anything else. I'll surely do so. Till then, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next.